4 a.m. The number on the phone that the room is too dark to make sense of. The cold floor. The specific silence of a world that is not yet running. No notifications, no demands, no version of the day that has started without you because you arrived before it could. Day 1 felt like a mistake. Day 4 felt like a choice. Day 12 felt like a choice. Day 12 felt like the beginning of something the previous version of the day had been preventing. Day 30 felt like a different operating system running inside the same body. Quieter, more directed, more present in the hours that used to belong to the scroll and the slow drift into whatever the morning decided to become without input from me. This is not a transformation story. No before and after. No dramatic physical shift. What 30 days of 4 a.m. produced was less visible and more structural than any of that. And it is the structural change, not the surface one, that this video is about. Bruce Wayne did not train in obscurity for the spectacle of it. The years before dawn, before anyone was watching, before the results were visible, were the years that built everything the daylight later ran on. 30 days of 4 a.m. is a version of the same architecture. Here is what it actually produced. Honestly, day by day, the first week is accurately described as violence against the existing pattern. The body's circadian rhythm does not adjust to a new wake time in 3 days. It fights. The mornings of days 1 through 7 feel less like productive opportunity and more like a penalty, a specific physical heaviness that the cold water and the movement and the coffee do not fully lift. The work attempted in those early hours is not the best work. The focus is incomplete. The pull toward the bed is not motivational weakness. It is the nervous system accurately reporting that the sleep cycle was interrupted before it completed. What happens in week 1 that matters is not the quality of the work. It is the fact of the alarm being answered. Every morning, the 4 a.m. alarm was honored, deposited something that had nothing to do with the hour's output, a small accumulating record of a kept promise to the self. That record, invisible, in week 1, becomes the foundation everything in weeks 3 and 4 is built on. The work in week 1 is almost irrelevant. The showing up in week 1 is everything. Something changes between day 8 and day 14. That is difficult to describe precisely and impossible to miss. The heaviness of the first week has not disappeared, but it has shortened. The period between waking and functional presence, which took 40 minutes in week 1, now takes 15. The body has begun to expect the new wake time. The circadian rhythm has started recalibrating. The hour that felt hostile in week 1 feels, by day 12, closer to neutral, and neutral, after the violence of week 1, feels like a gift. More significantly, the protected hour is producing something. Not always great work, sometimes the session produces very little, but the hour exists. It is there before the day's demands arrived and consumed it. The email that always ate the first 30 minutes of the morning, it is still there at 4:30, unanswered. And the thing that needed building has already been worked on before the email had a chance to matter more than it deserved to. Stay with this. What happened in week 3 and 4 is the part the 4 a.m. content never covers because it is not cinematic, and it is the most important thing the 30 days produced. By day 22, the 4 a.m. wake had stopped feeling like a discipline practice and started feeling like a preference. Not a dramatic preference, a quiet one. The version of the day that began at 7, with its immediate immersion in the reactive and the responsive, had started to feel like a loss compared to the version that began at 4, with 2 hours of silence before the world arrived. The preference was not manufactured. It was the brain's honest report after 3 weeks of evidence that the 4 a.m. day produced a different quality of presence across the full day than the 7 a.m. day ever had. Here is the honest accounting of what 30 days of 4 a.m. produced. Not the version that sounds like a transformation. The actual version, the output in the first 2 hours of the day increased. Not because 4 a.m. is magical, because the first 2 hours, protected from every reactive input and dedicated to the one thing, consistently produced more than the first 2 hours beginning at 7 ever did. The cognitive freshness of the early morning is real. The absence of the day's accumulated decisions and interruptions is real. The work done in those 2 hours was, on average, the best work of the day, not because of the hour, but because of the protection the hour provided. The rest of the day changed less than expected. The afternoon still had the familiar dip. The evening still required the wind down. What changed was the starting position. The sense by 9 a.m. that the most important thing had already happened before the day's demands had arrived to prevent it. That starting position changed what every subsequent hour felt like, not dramatically. Structurally, Wayne's years of pre-dawn preparation did not make the daylight hours easier. They made the daylight hours run on a foundation that the daylight hours could not have built themselves. 30 days of 4 a.m. produced the same structural shift. The day did not become simpler. The foundation under it became more solid. You came into this expecting either inspiration or instruction. Either the story of how 4 a.m. transformed everything, or the list of things to do with the hour once you have it. What 30 days of 4 a.m. actually produces is evidence, not transformation. Evidence. Evidence that the day can be directed rather than received. Evidence that the hour protected from every external demand produces different output than the same hour surrendered to reactive input. Evidence, accumulated across 30 mornings, that the version of you who arrives before the world does is a different operating version than the one the world finds when it arrives first. That evidence changes the decision about tomorrow morning in a way that motivation never could, because it is not based on how the 4 a.m. morning will feel. It is based on 30 days of documented proof of what it produces. Tomorrow morning, not 4 a.m. necessarily. The time is not the point. The protected hour before the reactive day begins is the point. Whatever time that requires in your specific life, set the alarm for it tonight. Name the one thing that the protected hour exists to enable, the thing that keeps getting crowded out by everything that arrives after 7. The work, the practice, the building that the day consumes before it can happen. Name it tonight. Write it on a piece of paper beside the alarm. Tomorrow morning, that alarm is answered. Not because the morning will feel good, it will not in week 1. Because the evidence that the protected morning produces begins accumulating on day 1 and compounds across every day after it. The morning you protect tomorrow is the first day of a different day. Not a different life, a different day. 30 different days make a different month. 12 different months make a different year. The 4 a.m. alarm does not give you more hours. It gives you the hours before the world arrives and takes them. Everything built before the day begins belongs entirely to you. One alarm, tonight. One named thing beside it. Tomorrow morning, the hour before the world arrives. That is the entire experiment. 30 days of it produces the evidence that changes everything after it. One question. What is the one thing that your mornings never protect? The thing that consistently gets crowded out before it can happen. Drop it in the comments. That thing is what the alarm tomorrow morning exists to enable. Name it here, then go set the alarm. If this made the 4 a.m. alarm feel like evidence rather than punishment, subscribe. More of this, the hour before the world arrives, belongs to you. Use it.